Welcome back to another video. My name is Abby and today we're talking about a powerful Neville Goddard technique that can really help you change your life right now, and that is revision. Now, before I start the video, I do have an announcement. If you have been interested in working with me one-on-one, this is a great time to do it because I have changed the way I'm taking payment. The way I'm taking payment now is donation-based, meaning yes, there is a minimum payment of $30. And if that's what you can afford right now, that's great. If you feel led to leave more, you can do so in the tip option. Either way, I am open and excited to help you break through your limiting beliefs, get out of the current cycle you're in, and start living the life you want to live. If you are interested in that, all of the information is in the description box below. It'll show you the calendar and all the steps you need to book a session. So, back to the video. What is this technique? Revision. Some of you might be familiar with this technique. It comes from Neville Goddard if you're not. And basically the idea of the technique is if there's a situation in your past, I'll use the example Neville Goddard gave back in a 1940s lecture. And that is basically, he said, if you go for a job and you find out later that you didn't get the job and you actually start feeling depressed and upset and down on yourself about not getting the job, what he says is to go back to that situation where you didn't get the job and have the feelings, think about it, right? Like imagine that you did get the job and the feelings you'd have. That sounds wonderful, right? If every bad thing that ever happened to us or thing that was painful for us, that never happened, and we revise it, well, now it's a magical kind of life, right? Like this is wonderful, and it is. However, there's a bit of miscommunication, misunderstanding that I've been seeing from a lot of people, and a lot of questions, and so I want to clear up not only what goes wrong, but also to how you can actually utilize this and see results and have it change your life. So what people do is exactly word for word what Neville says, right? They go back, okay, a situation that was really uncomfortable, painful, maybe somebody broke up with them and they really wanted to stay in that relationship, or maybe it was a really hard experience when they were in their childhood regarding a parent, maybe the parent left. So people think, okay, so applying that Neville Goddard technique, right, it would be like, okay, I'm going to revise it where that person never broke up with me. And I'm going to hold it in my mind. I'm going to, use the time right before I go to sleep. I'm going to really affirm that they never broke up with me. Or potentially it's the other example, right, where you're growing up and something painful happens. Maybe your parent left and you start affirming and you start revising that they never left. Well, a lot of times throughout the day in your life, you're like, what the hell? It still feels the same inside. Like I've revised it, and nothing's changing. It might change for a short amount of time inside, but then I just go right back to how I was feeling. Why isn't this working for me? Well, that's because the spirit of what Neville Goddard was saying is not quite how it comes across when you read it. And this is how you actually do it. Prepare thyself for maximum knowledge. Well, the whole issue with revision and the whole issue with whatever happened to you that you're trying to revise is not the thing that happened. And I'm not invalidating how painful that was and traumatic and terrible. I absolutely agree with you, and I'm on the same page with you in terms of how much that affected you. However, revision is not there to change that from happening. Revision's power is for you to go back and re-reason and give yourself a new meaning. When that person broke up with you, that you want to revise that situation, it's the meaning you are giving from them breaking up. So if you go back to that original memory and that situation and you look and see who you were, what did you abandon yourself in that situation? Did you make their presence in your life more important than your own? Because that is a form of self-abandonment. Did you make them leaving all about you, that you weren't good enough, that if you did something better, if you were more attractive, if you were more successful, did you make that why they left? No matter what they said. Because when you start to see, oh, okay, I'm going to go back to that situation. Oh, I can see that person was under a lot of stress, or potentially we were getting really close and connected. That scared them because of their childhood stuff. You don't have to solve that. You don't even have to call them and tell them, oh, I understand now why. All you have to do is see yourself as who you really were in that situation. You were whole and complete. You were worthy. You're deserving. You still are. And the reason that somebody left, and rewind back too about when in the example of the child, right? Like that parent was going through a lot of stuff. The child was never, ever lacking in worth or lacking in deserving of love. However, when you see that never had to do anything with you and you revise, you see differently that situation. Well, now the reasons why you feel like you're always going to be abandoned, or maybe you had a job situation where somebody said something really mean and they were your boss, or they said you never make a lot of money, or whatever the case, you go back to those memories and you see them for what was really happening, not the wounds of your past. Then that sticking point that's keeping you from moving on towards what you want right now won't actually exist, because psychologically you've reasoned on it. You unhook that old painful emotion, your subconscious even, it'll get to that of like, wait a second. Okay, well, I've been thinking that I wasn't worthy because that person left, and if I would have done more, if I would have been more, then they would have stayed. If that actually was never true, that means all this time I've been worthy and I've been deserving. So the whole thing that got you stuck, basically you can unstick yourself, because one of Neville Goddard's big things is how you see yourself, the self-concept. So realize that it's okay if you have been misunderstanding revision, thinking that you needed to change the whole scene. Think about it. If you've got to go back to change the scene so that you feel different, if you bring in the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, he calls this a Newtonian way of doing things. When outside changes, then I'll feel different outside. If I use my mind to change a situation that was outside of myself, then I can feel different about me. If you're using that model, then you come to present day, it's going to be the same model. When the outside changes, then I'll feel good about myself. When I do find that person who won't leave, then I'll feel worthy and whole. So if you go back and realize that you have the power to see it differently, to give yourself a different meaning, bring yourself up, stay with yourself, don't abandon yourself, see yourself in the worth and value that you have. You can do this with anything that your mind goes to in a painful moment. Maybe a parent screamed at you. Maybe they told you that you weren't going to ever be good. Maybe they told you that you weren't going to be successful. Go back there and see how those were their wounds. Maybe somebody told that to them. Maybe that's how they thought that the world worked. That doesn't make them right and okay in doing that. However, it also allows you to unhook that truth of what they were saying. Then give yourself a new meaning, because it's not about the outside thing happening to change you. It's about you changing how you see yourself so that you can see your outside world differently. When you start revising, when you start seeing the past differently, not changing it so that you'll feel better, because you're still powerless in that. Then you're running around after every single thing that ever made you feel powerless. Not understanding you can actually take your power back and see it differently, but thinking that if that changes, then you'll get your power. That whole structure is creating more powerless situations, and you are powerful. No matter what has happened in your life, realize that you have the ability to constantly re-see yourself, constantly see the truth of who you are, a powerful, loving, and unique gift to this world. The more you start to see yourself different, realize that the power was within you all along. And it's okay that you didn't know that up until now. And now you get to make a new choice. You get to see your past differently, and therefore your current day you'll see with different eyes. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit that little thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, join this community. We would love to have you. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one.